The Moradas lost Teresa's elderly house, where about 200 elderly people live without electricity following damages caused by Hurricane Maria, is seen in Carolina. Puerto RicoBrian Jimenez had burned through dwindling supplies of scarce gasoline on a 45-minute drive in search of somewhere to fill his grandmother's blood thinner prescription. He ended up in Fajardo, a scruffy town of strip malls on Puerto Rico's northeastern tip, where a line of 400 waited outside a Walmart. The store had drawn desperate crowds of storm victims who had heard it took credit or debit cards, and offered customers $20 cash back, a lifeline in an increasingly cashless society. Store employees allowed customers in, one by one, for rationed shopping trips of 15 minutes each. Then, at noon, the store closed after its generator croaked and before Jimenez could get inside to buy his grandmother's medicine. Every day we say, "What's the thing that we need the most today?" And then we wait in a line for that, said Jimenez, a 24-year-old medical student from Ponce, on the island's southern coast. By Saturday, 11 days after Hurricane Maria crippled this impoverished U.S. territory, residents scrambled for all the staples of modern society: food, water, fuel, medicine, currency, in a grinding survival struggle that has gripped Puerto Ricans across social classes. For days now, residents have awoken each morning to decide which lifeline they should pursue: gasoline at the few open stations, food and bottled water at the few grocery stores with fuel for generators, or scarce cash at the few operating banks or ATMs. The pursuit of just one of these essentials can consume an entire day if the mission succeeds at all, as hordes of increasingly desperate residents wait in 12-hour lines. As criticism mounts about a slow disaster response by President Donald Trump's administration, residents here in Fajardo said that had seen little if any presence from the federal government. Across the island, the sporadic presence of the Federal Emergency Management Agency or the U.S. military stood in sharp contrast to their comparatively ubiquitous presence after hurricanes Harvey and Irma recently hit Texas and Florida. The severe shortages have thrown even relatively affluent Puerto Ricans into the same plight as the hundreds of thousands of poor residents here. The broad humanitarian crisis highlights the extreme difficulty of getting local or federal disaster relief to a remote U.S. island territory with an already fragile infrastructure and deeply indebted government. Even those here with money to spend now cannot often access it or find places open and supplied to spend it, as stores are shuttered for lack of electric power, diesel for generators, supplies, or employees. Jimenez's failed trip to Walmart came after chasing groceries at a store near Yabucoa, near where his grandmother lived. He planned to spend the next day in one of the miles-long gas lines that snake from stations onto highways and up exit ramps. At the beginning of many lines were stations already out of gas, but motorists still waited, hoping a fuel supply truck would eventually arrive. "We wasted gas getting here and going back," Jimenez said as he watched police usher dejected customers away from Walmart's entrance. "The gas lines are ridiculous. 50 cars is wonderful. Most are 100-plus cars." Another customer turned away from the Walmart. Daniel Santiago, 51, said he had waited in a gas line for 12 hours one day and 14 hours the next. Neither attempt had been successful, so he, his wife and 3 daughters had walked 3 miles to the Fajardo shopping complex, where they waited in line for the Econo grocery. "We have to do this every day," Santiago said. "Yesterday, we came down walking. The day before that, we walked up a really big hill to try to get a signal to contact our family. That had not worked either." A man stands inside of a destroyed supermarket by Hurricane Maria in Salinas, Puerto Rico, September 29. 2017 UNFORTUNATE reality even before the storm hit and knocked out the island's dilapidated electric